Back in the Phantoms lair for a show about the big dogs, the Rucks, in 2026. And of course, we do have the big dogs in the studio to talk about said big dogs. 5 names: Simeon Thomas-Wilson. Welcome.
Hi.
And another big dog, me, the Phantom. But the Chief is here, the small dog, the small pup, the Jack Russell of the Phantoms lair.
Chihuahua.
The Chieftain.
Oh, my God.
Welcome.
The Chief Chihuahua.
The Chief Chihuahua. She's
Yep. Thanks, man.
Oh.
the Rucks. We've gone through defenders and midfielders. You can go back and check those out on the Code Sports YouTube channel, wherever you get your podcasts as well. It's all about the Rucks today, Chief.
Sure is. Bit of a different look this year.
Short show.
Phantom. Yeah, well, maybe. Usually Rucks are pretty stock standard. It's either you go on those premiums or you're deciding to go something different. I wonder if this year will be any different for us, because there are, if you have been living under a rock, several rule changes coming in to this season that seem to be focused on adjusting the Rucks the most in terms of how they set up around the ground, how they can attack the Ruck contest, and maybe, potentially, how they score SuperCoach points if it does sort of impact them the way we think it will.
Yeah, and then we had Freako, the freak man, former friend of the show, and Code Sports.
What's he done?
Well, hasn't come back on yet, but no, we'll call him a friend, sorry.
Jeez.
As part of Code Sports' SuperCoach preseason camp, he was answering all SuperCoach questions at the Code Sports website on Wednesday. Talked about some of the stats that could be affected as a result of those changes. So we'll go through them and talk about the names that could be associated with potential increase or potential fall in SuperCoach scoring this year.
Now, there are a few rules to talk about. 5 names. You've got them there for us.
Yep. So actually, three main changes here for, I guess, Ruck contests in 2026, which we're going to see from Saturday onwards, State of Origin games. So keep a watch out on that if you're watching. Umpires will no longer bounce the ball to start play at centre square Ruck contests. Instead, they're going to throw it up in the air. So do we call it centre bounce CBAs anymore?
Yeah, they're still called CBAs, apparently, according to Freako recently.
All right. Interesting.
In another podcast, I heard.
That's one thing we got. All right, cool. At centre square ball ups, what's got here.
Yep.
Competing Rucks will not be allowed to cross the centre line before engaging with their opponent. And finally, umpires can restart play around the ground without a nominated Ruck being present.
Would be very interesting, fan.
So we've already seen a couple of the Rucks. Matt Storm said with the, I guess the centre line one, he gave away like three free kicks in like a minute or something. And he said like really quick ones.
In their sort of intra-club.
Yeah, and it was old Matt Simeon. It was by like a centimetre or something. Put over the line. I think Crozer said, Nitzer said like Lockie McAndrew's been like jumping all over Riley O'Brien because of this, 1 week. And then, so there's a bit of, so I think it's already, some Ruts are already finding it a bit hard.
I could jump over Riley O'Brien.
No, you could.
We're also going to have less throw-ins in theory as well with the last touch. So
yeah.
We probably need some rules in here because the Chief, the Chihuahua, does cross the line a fair bit when it comes to taking over from SuperCoach, but they're the rules.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what actually happens in terms of specific names, specific stats in 2026. We're going to not know the full answer until we start seeing the games and seeing the results in the numbers. But the Freak did mention at Code Sports yesterday the stat Ruck hard ball gets, which is to take the ball out of the ruck. He says they are the ones that could be impacted given there won't be as many stoppages. He says, and also it's much harder to take the ball out of the ruck if you are jumping. Tristan Xerri can't use his body back into someone as such, let the ball bounce, take it, or handball, or grab it out of the ruck because he's jumping. The leaders in that stat last year from the Freak, Max Gawn, 28, Kieran Briggs, 23, and Xerri, Marshall, and 18. That's the top 4. Gawn, Briggs, Xerri, and Marshall. Interestingly, he says, Brodie Grundy only had 3.
Ooh.
Luke Jackson only had 2.
Oh, okay.
So Brodie Grundy obviously went on that massive tear. We know he's probably the best pure ball-winning ruckman in the comp in terms of winning the ball around the ground. Still scored well without those big stats that hardball gets at the stoppage. That was helping the other names score so well. He also said, he when asked about a player that probably sees a decrease, he does say Xerri.
Ooh.
Impossible to know.
So I've said so far, Faden has fade. Am I saying fade Xerri?
Fade Xerri, you fade the big three.
Yeah.
Next is She. We haven't got to the Ford podcast. Maybe She's was next.
But the stats say no player relied on stoppage scoring more than Tristan Xerri last season.
Wow. Okay. So if we are thinking stoppages are reduced and he's the guy that's the biggest scorer.
Quote card this up from the Freak. It's a second-handed quote. He doesn't offer much in general play.
Wow.
Only 23.9% of his points were won in transition. Now, we think the transition game, the ball's going to move quicker as of the standing rule as well in the game, not just what happens in the ruck. So, yep.
He's okay. We've got a lot. We've got a lot. Yeah, that's good to discuss about the rules.
He's in my team. Put him in my team right
and I think at the end of the day, though, Phantom, this is all kind of theoretical discussions. It's all theoretical discussions. We have no idea how this is going to look. And as you said, maybe a millimetre over at this point in the season, they're trying to adjudicate it really hard. Maybe that's what we see early in the season from the umpires as well, and then it could relax as the season goes on. So we never know really what's going to happen until we see it in practice. But it's going to be interesting in State of Origin and in just going forward into these official and unofficial practice matches. It's going to be interesting to see, Fan. But let's look at last year's winning strategy from the winner last season. Were they mixing it up? Did they go double premium? What did they do? They went Tristan Xerri and Tom De Koning was the partnership there last year.
It's about the only starting line this guy got right as well. You can say that because he won. So
yeah, fair enough. And then Harry Boyd on the bench. So a guy that did he play one game for the year or something like that? So yeah, obviously.
Lock of the century.
Yep.
It's always a tough line though, Rucks. We've only got two that we can pick there, plus the flex. So possibly three options if you do want to go the ruck in the flex as well. It is always a tough line to knuckle down though. We've only got 2 bites at the cherry there. Or 3, as I said. But
all the fun. 2 bites of the cherry.
Yeah, there you go. But Phantom, we've been going through our positional rankings here. Well, your positional rankings. Tell us who we should be picking for the season. I'm very interested now that you've run through those stats, who you've got as the Phantom's top 5 for the season in the ruck department.
No, I've just changed it. Now, this is on this. We have just changed it. We made a big change. I see my team during the week had Luke Jackson and Tom De Koning in. No, none of the big dogs. I think I'm going to shift back towards a big dog. After what the Freako said, after going back over the numbers, after talking to you, Chief, you were very excited about this.
I was, yeah.
7% of teams at the moment. By far the biggest Supercoach scorer through a stretch there in 2026, Brodie Grundy. Woof. Going to go back in my team, number 1. He's in.
That is.
Yep.
You're on fire, Fan.
I'm going to fit him back in. I'm going to squeeze him back in.
You know what?
7% of teams. You told me that.
I know. He's a point of difference. Is he?
Do you nicknames with 5 names?
Yeah. I might just go. Don't need me, do you?
Brodie Grundy.
Yeah.
7% owned. Early buy. We've talked about it many times. The early buys people are worried about.
No, we're not worried about it.
We should reel off some scores of his last season.
We're not worried about the early buys here in the Lair.
No. I mean, that's, yeah.
I think we're more worried about what the rule changes mean for Xerri at the moment.
Yeah. That's an amazing stat, though, that Grundy didn't have those hardball ruck gets or whatever they were called.
Yeah. So
remember we thought he was going to get 2 Grundy 200s. Remember? And we predicted him, and he got 1.
You know what?
That run home is absolutely massive.
Now, I'm going to speak a little bit later about draft rankings, as we have been doing as well, but Dossy in the off-season must have been ahead of my time because he was my number 1 in the off-season when we did our first draft rankings. He was my number 1 pick this season, the top scorer. So I think I've changed my mind about 100 times on that one now, but Brodie Grundy might have to come back in my team, Fan.
Yep. Been a big flip.
After the bye last year, 159, 179, 127, 154, 153, 137, 200, 99, and 104.
And I think, well, I was going to say, they got Colton first up, but that doesn't matter. Opening round doesn't matter because that would be very fun.
I mean, that's the thing. We get to see him. If he scores a low score, you're just not going to really go there, I think, Phantom. And if he goes high, everyone will be jumping across, and that won't be 7% anymore. That'll be 70%. So
pretty much.
And we know Supercoach scores 3,300 points awarded every game. So if some of his ruck opponents are going to we know ruckmen have scored well in Supercoach normally. If some of them are going to be brought down because of a decrease in stoppages, someone else has got to have those points. So could there be more points available for Brodie Grundy in the ruck matchups as well? Maybe.
I do just wonder, though, he's not the biggest sleeper these days, Earl Grund. So in terms of, yes, he's not getting that particular stat, but I do think he benefited greatly from the wrestling style of running forward and pushing before he gets the hit out. So I wonder if, as much as he's going to gain from some areas, maybe he's subtracted in other areas of the new rule changes. But Phantom, let's get to your second player here.
Number 2, Max Gawn.
Yep.
Hard to go past the Melbourne skipper. I'm not going to probably fit him in my starting team. I'm not going to go the 2 top price rucks. But it's hard to see him. You know, if he loses somewhere, he's going to gain somewhere else, given what he does around the ground, behind the ball especially. I think it's hard to see him being pushed out of that top 3 in total scorers. Number 3, Luke Jackson. He's been in my team, in your team for most of the preseason, Chief.
Yep.
Now,
Didn't Chief not have him in his team? I thought he took him out. Were you worried about the midfield?
Gorney.
No, Luke Jackson.
We're on number 3 now.
Sorry.
We've all said number 1, as number 1 ruckman, he's almost be the number 1 scorer in the competition.
Yeah.
As a ruck that pinch hits in the midfield, who knows? But I think that is the exciting part. It's still some unknown in terms of how much ball can he win, what's the point share if he plays as a midfielder, how much ruck time will he get. But at this point, still at number 3, because I think regardless of where he plays, is going to have a big impact.
I think the fact that they're throwing up the ball quicker now, which is another sort of rule we didn't touch on heaps, but like the fact that they're not going to wait for people to get to the contest before they're throwing it up, I think Luke Jackson benefits from that, not only because of his fitness, but if he's playing, as has been suggested in the preseason, as a mid ruck, where he gets to play some inside minutes plus the ruck. I think when he's the midfielder, that would be the plan, that if he's playing as the midfielder, he'll still, if he's there at the ruck contest and you got Lumber and Sean Darcy sort of hovering behind the contest, I think that would be the plan. He's going to be at the stoppage, so he then becomes the ruck as the midfielder, which he's then a ruck anyway. So I think that's the sort of benefit and maybe something that Freo could be looking at in terms of playing him there. So yeah, huge on Luke Jackson as well. Yep. I think he'll be a huge beneficiary this year.
Number 4. Yeah. Talk about the changes. The game is not going to change significantly. It's not going to go out there and look like a new game, and Tristan Xerri's not going to know how to play. Still got him in the top 5, number 4 at this point.
Oof. I mean, that's worthy of another top.
Hot for too high, you reckon?
Fourth.
Yep.
This should be.
Seems low.
This should be the
That means you're fading him for sure then.
Yeah, you'd have to.
I'm fading him now, yep. Now, and if it goes wrong, I'll be blaming the freak. So, if you're listening, freak, this is on you.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Go on.
Wow.
Next.
Number 5?
Yep.
Tom de Koning.
Woo! My man, TDK.
At St Kilda, if anyone is going to benefit from the ruck rules and can jump over and get every photo that's taken of Tom de Koning in the ruck, he's 1.5 meters above the next player. If it's going to benefit anyone in terms of having an impact in the ruck, I think it's him. The only thing we still don't know about is just what happens with the ruck split at St Kilda with Rowan Marshall. Max King's not going to quite be ready. Chief, you said that the other day. Does that mean Rowan Marshall plays more forward to begin with?
Surely.
Yeah.
Yep. Tom de Koning, number 5. Grundy and de Koning. Is that the winning play?
That's huge. I mean, we need to discuss. I mean, we're going to discuss this quickly, but like Tristan Xerri, 4th overall. You're saying fade. What do you think? 5 names, because that's a huge call. Like
I'm thinking
he's 50% owned by the competition.
I'm saying fade now.
Oh, what are you saying, Chief?
I'm on the fence. I'm not usually on the fence. Dossy,
5 names on the. He's on the fence. There's something different.
Dossy willing for a quote card if it's there for the taking, but I don't know how this is gonna. Like if I was to at the end of last season before any rules, I would have said Xerri would have been the number 1 guy like in SuperCoach probably this year. So I don't want to just rule him out because of these sudden rule changes. Like I think a guy of his quality is going to adjust and figure it out, and he can still jump as well as wrestle. So yeah, it's just like the stats you mentioned in terms of getting so much at the contest. Can he adjust his game and now get involved around the ground instead and be as impactful without, the contested numbers, without maybe a few less tackles? But yeah, I think in terms of starting him, given those risks, I might join the guys. Although his early schedule is early schedule's petrifying.
You just talked around in circles and you're back on the fence. So what? Give the listeners something. What do you think?
I'm out.
Oh, there it is. The Chief. That's it. Quote card. I'm out.
We could use that for a lot of things on the
We
channel.
could.
I'm out. All right.
What else we have? Anyone else to consider?
There's some other premiums. So just looking at ownership numbers, Xerri 50%, and all three of us considering the fade at the moment. I wonder if we all get scared off closer to round one than we get. But Luke Jackson, second most owned. So I think people are just on board the thinking in terms of the new game style possibly, and him being a beneficiary there, and also just a gun player in general, 27% owned. And then Maxi Gawn comes in third. Most owned. Tim English is one that did not feature in your top five. Shockingly, in my opinion, I think he is another guy that really gets himself involved in transition. It wouldn't surprise me if he's a top three ruck in 2026, let alone way down outside the top five there, fan.
Who?
Tim English.
I know. Yeah, and we've spoken about him the last 3 or 4 years. Has the potential to, at some point we thought this guy is going to be the number one SuperCoach ruckman. Just can't or hasn't been able to show that he can score consistently at that high level. Scores at a good level, but he's not Xerri, Gawn, Grundy level consistently in SuperCoach. This guy was scoring SuperCoach tons early, double tons early in his career.
Not consistent, fan. 111 last year, 108 in 2024, and then, hang on, 128 from 23 games in 2023. You're doubting Tenglish.
What of the last 2 years? We're talking about the last couple of years.
Not in the top five. All right, well, I'm firmly against that, but I appreciate the...
Is he in your team?
He is in the latest iteration.
Jeez, with who?
Wow.
Well, why don't we quickly talk about who we've got now? Because my current... Actually, no, he's not. I put Grundy in. I put Grundy in mid-show. So Grundy and Jackson at the moment. But Grundy could just as easily be Tim English. So,
okay.
Especially if he gets back to that 128. What's your ruck setup at the moment? Quickly.
Well, since I'm fading Xerri, wait, do you want to do it now? Do you want to get to my fuel later on for my...
Maybe you can do it now. Maybe you can do it now because if he's in your lineup.
He's in my lineup.
All right, let's go.
I'm rolling at the moment at R2 with Dante Vicentini, who at the moment Porter don't play one ruck, and at this stage Dante's ahead of Jordan Sweet.
Now, huge news. Is that, dare we say, some breaking news on the Lair?
Well, we've hinted at it a little bit, in our Coast Sports reporting, but no, he's at the moment Dante's just ahead.
Now,
breaking news with 5 names.
There's more to this as well, the relationship between you and Dante.
No, there isn't.
Well, we'll have to keep track of the time code, Chief, for a couple of weeks' time.
Okay. Something in the works there. Maybe. But wow, Vicentini.
Massive.
I reckon at the moment I'm going to have Grundy or Jackson and Dante as R2 to free up cash.
Very nice.
But I could change
300K.
Yeah, 300K.
300K ruck.
Average 55 last year. Yep.
So is the thought, he's nearly, 20, he's 22, 23.
Yeah, put on 6 kilos in the off-season.
Ooh.
So he's bulked up a bit. He can move around the ground better than Sweet. He's got Xerri first up, so that could be a bit of a tough one for him. But then after that, it's Essendon.
He's no good, Xerri.
It's Essendon West Coast. I think there's someone else who's pretty not a bad little start.
Well, they've got we've talked about Port's run in general, and you can kind of, if he plays that sort of, more of that less traditional ruck game around the ground, then maybe he could also be a beneficiary. But that's a big call.
Yeah,
5 names starting the mid-price ruck.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. What's your ruck lineup though, Fant? Before we move on.
Well, I'm just trying. Like I said before, I did release my team during the week, and it was Jackson and DeConing. Just actually right now trying to find some money for Grundy and DeConing.
Okay. May I suggest Dante Vicentini?
By the time we leave the room, Brodie Grundy, Tom DeConing.
Wow. Okay. Interesting stuff. I'm concerned as much as I love this guy, but this TDK situation here, the ruck share is going to be a factor at some point, and it's a worry that might make me decide not to start him, and the bye in round 4 as well. Having a few guys, maybe a Naz or a Flanders that share that bye may scare me off starting with TDK, but he'll be on my watch list as well.
So would you go Jackson over TDK then?
Yeah, it's a lot more money though. That's the thing, because let's get into my mid-price power rankings. Now, just a fair warning. I need a bit of a warning before we start this because they're gross, Tim. They are gross this time. I can't find the button in time, but they are gross, this mid-price power rankings. But number 1, I've squeezed him in because he's just over, and I've cheated. Tom De Koning is the only guy I think is worth in the cheap bracket, and he's over 500k. I know I'm being very lenient with the rule here because other than that, can any of you guys see yourself starting with these mid-price rucks? I'm counting Vicentini's not really mid. He's kind of almost that bargain basement that we're talking about. Like he's only just 100k more than a rookie. Mid-price, these are the guys you're looking at. I've got my power rankings. Number 1, TDK. Number 2, Mark Pitnet at 407k. 3, I've got Briggs or Madden, whoever wins the battle at GWS. Briggs could potentially be a guy, but you just said he's another one that benefited from the wrestling, and he's also not, the most agile guy going around for the new rules. Matt Flynn at 4, who we've all been there and done that last year. Ned Moyle, if he ever gets the number 1 mantle over Jared Witts, and then poor old Jordan Sweet. At number 6, because I added an extra one in case you
ended his career. 5 names just ended his career today.
Yeah, a guy that dropped 200 SuperCoach points last year, Jordan Sweet. You're ruling him out.
Well, no, I'm just reporting what's happening at Port at the moment.
Reporting the end of his career.
No, Sweet should, his career is still going.
Yep.
Just from Port at the moment, Dante is slightly ahead of him.
Yeah.
And they're going to play one ruck.
Good intel.
I got faith in Sweetie though. I've seen the footage out there. He's tackling hard, putting everything he can to get that number 1 mantle himself. So keep an eye on that. I don't know if you'll necessarily get what you want round 1, Sim, but you do have the intel there. Me in the bushes, I don't know. I've been getting some intel of my own down at Alberton.
Chief, what about Sam Draper? Still pretty highly owned, but he's out until, they've said that he's out until, what they said was week 2 of the AFL season, which to me, I was like, is week 2 actually round 1 for Brisbane? But since then, I think they have clarified it is round 2 that he's not going to be available until. So, I mean, you're just not going to start with an injured player, I wouldn't have thought. And currently, he's nearly 14% owned, and that's just obviously for people maybe making their team when the games come out and then not checking it for a little bit, but maybe look to remove Sam Draper from your team to start the season. He's definitely on our radar, though, the moment he suits up for the Lions, and see how that looks. He would have been number 1, I think, here in the mid-price.
I definitely would have
easily prior to the injury. So yeah, that's a good point to point that out. We had been going through our super value watch list as well, and obviously in the rucks, there's just not that many to talk about. Dante Vicentini was in there, and the other player who is also not going to be right for the start of the season is Nick Bryan, who I will be looking very closely at the moment he returns for Essendon. But at the moment, it's looking like Essendon are going to run Lockie Blackiston as their number 1 ruck, who he's available as a defender this year, not in the ruck.
Yeah. How much? How much is he?
In the 250k bracket, I think. Right. So he's one to think about, but he's not in the actual. You can only select him as a defender, which could be great for us. Also,
one maybe just keep a little bit of an eye on it. Hard to see. Just see if Lockie McAndrew can maybe get up over Rob. Don't know. Like there's a little. He's been going pretty well at times, Lockie McAndrew, but then Riley O'Brien does bounce back. So that's just another one to just monitor, I reckon.
Well, speaking about those rookie price players, Fant, you're going to do a speed run for us here of Fant's Farm. Heading to Fant's Farm to find those rookie cash cows.
There's not a lot here.
Now, as a guy probably we could have mentioned sooner, but we did want to wait till cash cow. I think there's an obvious R3, and you can start with him, Fant.
I'll give you five names.
Okay.
5 names.
Ooh, 5 names.
Ooh.
You mentioned, you're talking about Liam Reedy, 50% owned. I still think
65% owned.
Ruck forward, great R3, great flex if he starts. He's been doing some good work forward of centre, and surely he does offer Michael Voss added flexibility. He's more athletic than Mark Pitnet with those new ruck rules. So surely, even if he doesn't start, it's not too far away. So he's the number 1 rookie option, 119k, big numbers in the waffle last year playing for Freo. Now, that's probably it. Kalani White, 99k, ruck forward is obviously
30% owned. Yeah.
Because of sometimes we like to throw. At the moment, Liam Reedy is my flex. Kalani White is my R3. we need sometimes we need a donut for the VC and C loophole.
And Melbourne do play a lot of Sunday games.
Yep. So that's why he's so highly owned.
And just cheap. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
But if you are looking
Could
for
he
other
get a gig?
options,
I've got Kalani
No.
White.
No. Other options to consider, Vigo Vicentini.
Vigo. Yep.
Now, we talk about Blackiston. Could
Yeah.
Vigo get in the 180K? Maybe. Not
Well,
a bench.
if we hear some other news coming out of Essendon, maybe, yeah.
Imagine that. Imagine starting just going full weird and
Vicentini.
start with the Vicentini R1, R2
Vicentini
double.
Bros.
Number 2 pick in the draft, Cooper Duff Tyler, 90K ruck forward. Now, he could surprise a few too. Very skillful for a big man. Again, hard selection to start in Supercoach.
He'll play as if Matt Flynn's healthy, he'll play as a forward just to save the body. He's still super young. First year. Like that just is natural that your key forwards, like he'll be the ultra slow burn, but at 190K, I think it's pretty hard. Like you said, you'd probably almost rather just throw the position and use it to loop, would you think?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's his scoring power? I have no idea. I mean, he's a good kick. Like good kicking's good Supercoach, as Phantom always says.
Play him on the wing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be against using, like, just having him there as a slow burn, but it could be slow.
2 other 119K options to just watch for, potentially. Dan Batten keeps talking about this guy. He says, if you ask someone at Geelong who's been standing out pre-season, Mitch Edwards, 119K ruck from the Cats, and also Oscar Steen, the mature ager, was drafted from the Sandful over at Collingwood. Obviously no Mason Cox there. At the moment, no Brody Myercheck either in that forward line. Could he come in and play some mixed minutes there? So just 2 names to keep an eye on. Not saying not anywhere near my team at the moment, but just keep an eye on them if they do pop up in any practice games or early in the season.
Final discussion on Classic before I just whip through some draft stuff, Fan. Is there any way you could see yourself, like last year we were toying with it, was the first year Flex was in, any situation you guys could see yourself starting with 3 rucks, again, on field I'm talking about here, putting a ruck in Flex, especially if we do have someone like a Vicentini that could be a value pick for us, going,
could be
Jackson, Grundy, and a Vicentini.
Yeah.
Vigo or Dante?
Well,
either.
Yeah, I think you could. I think that's how it would work.
I think I'm just scared off using the flexibility of the flex.
Yeah, the other one is when Draper comes back. You could look at that, because he does have that forward status as well. But I mean, you could
start the season though. Would you consider it strongly or not really?
Well, I've got Liam Reedy at Flex at the moment. Does that count?
I suppose that counts.
No, I'm going different ways with the flex. I'm going to try and get a midfielder.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm leaning from our lessons learned last year. Quickly in draft, if I'm drafting a ruck, I want to get a big dog. It's a big dog or it's nothing for me. Sim, when I'm drafting, I get one of those guys you've talked about in that top 5. Maybe Tim English is in there for me as well, unfortunately, Phantom. But I'm grabbing one of the big dogs or I'm punting the rucks. Now, when I say punting, I just mean I'm going to leave the ruck until basically one of my last picks in the draft.
So if you had pick 7 in a 10-man league, what would you do?
Look, if there's a good ruck there, I'll be taking him in the first or second round, I think. So that's always my strategy is in Supercoach is to get at one of the big midfielders or a ruck, especially if captains are on, you want one of these big dogs.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't get I'm talking like a Xerri, a Gawn, a Grundy, Luke Jackson, Tim English, that sort of thing. And I only want to get them in the first couple of rounds probably. So more so your top 120 plus guys. If not, I'm leaving the rucks. I'm drafting everyone else.
Yeah, who are you looking at then?
And then late in the draft. Look, these are some of the ADP data that we've got. So average draft position. A TDK who we've mentioned about, people probably a little bit more worried about the ruck share and draft as well. He's going at pick 52. So that's kind of a mid-tier pick. I'm not talking about, if I'm punting it, I'm going even deeper.
Yeah.
TDK would be the one sort of value pick, I think, at the moment. When I'm punting, I'm talking Sean Dossy, ADP of 205. The guy's still going to be rucking ahead of Luke Jackson if he's playing. You can pick him up with one of your last picks in the draft. So I've just gone and got Matt Raub, all these guys up the top, whilst somebody's picking up the scraps of a Toby Nankervis early on. I'm waiting until the later end of the draft. Sean Darcy's going to be there. Dante Vicentini's going to be there. Even stashing a Nick Bryan and swapping him with, making sure you have a little backup ruck that's just going to get a heartbeat for the first few rounds until he's ready. I don't care. I'm throwing the position if I don't get an early ruck.
What about man? Always consistent man, the Whittler, Jared Witt. He's always around. Or one of the Hawthorn guys.
Yep. Getting Meekie.
Yeah.
I'm all about just waiting, like wait until the last guy in that sort of, if it's a Meek or if it's even if it is a Nank, later in the draft that's just there, I'll just snap them up late because wasting these sort of mid-round picks on drafts, I'm not about that. I'm either getting the big dog or it's nothing for old Dossy in draft.
Oof, very good.
Very good.
Bant, the Lair League, let's wrap this up.
What is the Lair League?
The
What are we
Lair
up to?
League.
We need
We
5.
are-
Wait,
Yeah.
what are we up to, Chief? Because 5K is the target. Look up those numbers now. If you aren't in the league, get in there now. Take us on 128532, the Lair League code 128532. What are we at?
You might have to do one of these punishments pretty soon. We are nearly at 3,000 members already in the Lair League. And we've said
Good
there's going to
punishments
be
coming too as well.
There's going to be some merch up for grabs. We're going to put together a little care package, a Lair package.
Lair package.
Lair package.
Yeah, I found out we've got some big names actually in the AFL world in there. You know, I won't reveal who.
Big
but
names.
We've got some big names.
Oof.
Including 5 names, of course.
Unbelievable stuff. So, yeah, get us up to 5,000 and then Phantom is going to do a sneaky little punishment of some
Keep
sort.
seeing those punishments through because a few good ones
they are
coming in.
coming through.
Yeah.
We'll do like a poll or something at the end of all this and make sure that...
The Chief sends us,
The tattoo's happening.
the Chief hits up the group chat at 11 p.m. at night with any
I have
suggestions
been
that come
sending a
through.
few through. Yeah, they've been good. The other thing we're aiming for, 23,000 subscribers on YouTube. Hit like and subscribe if you are watching on Code Sports YouTube. If we do that, we're looking at doing a little Lair catch-up at Gather Round at some point.
Yeah, 5 names card on the bar.
Yep, that's right. And we're at nearly 22,000 for that. So only 1,000 away from that one, Phantom as well. And then on Apple and Spotify, we are looking to get up to 1,200 ratings across Spotify and Apple. And that's old Dossy's up for that one for punishment. So figure that one out as well.
Very good. Get in there, get picking, get tinkering, codesports.com.au. Again, catch up on Code Week, the SuperCoach preseason camp, all the great content there. You can read more of what Fancy Freako said in depth about the Rucks in his Q&A there. So plenty of gold in there to dissect and it might influence your Ruck setup, which it has today.
State of Origin this weekend, lads. and
SuperCoach
then,
numbers.
SuperCoach numbers will be coming through from that. So we'll be able to talk about that next week and then wrap up these positional
Forwards.
episodes with forwards.
Yep.
It's going to be a lovely Valentine's Day for Mrs. Dossy.
See you then.